Welcome to This Explainer. I'm so glad you're here right now, because we're about to dive into something that can literally change how you experience every single day. If you've ever felt kind of stuck, caught in that endless loop of anxiety or stress, and you're looking for some real, science-backed ways to upgrade your mood, you are in the exact right place. So let's just jump right into it.
So, what if your brain was never actually designed to make you happy? Seriously, think about that for a second. What if all that anxiety, the overthinking, that nagging feeling like you're just waiting for the other shoe to drop? What if that isn't a personal failure at all? What if it's actually an ancient biological survival mechanism doing exactly what it was programmed to do? See, your brain really only has one main job: keeping you alive. Not peaceful, not happy, just alive.
And the difference between ancient and modern threats brilliantly illustrates our dilemma today. Thousands of years ago, we survived by constantly expecting danger. The folks who thought everything was totally safe, they didn't stick around too long. So we evolved this internal hardware to constantly scan for physical threats like predators. But today, the threats are mostly social and psychological. You make a tiny mistake at work, or you get left on red, and your brain reacts with the exact same life-or-death intensity as if there was a tiger hiding in the bushes. It's the exact same ancient brain, but a totally different world.
This evolutionary mismatch leads to something psychologists call the negativity bias. Because your brain is essentially a survival machine, it automatically prioritizes problems and criticism way over positive experiences. Think about it. You could get 10 amazing compliments today and just one tiny piece of criticism. Which one are you going to be replaying on a loop at 2 a.m.? The criticism, right? Positive moments naturally fade out, but the negative ones stick like glue. In our modern lives, this is basically a huge default programming error. But here's the really good news: we can actually fix it.
Which brings us to Section 1, Rewiring through Neuroplasticity, or updating your brain's software. Because, guess what? We absolutely do not have to be victims to our ancient hardware. The absolute key here is neuroplasticity. Your brain isn't fixed. It rewires itself continuously based on what you repeatedly think, feel, and do. Meaning, your daily habits aren't just passive little routines, they are literal instructions. Every single day, you're teaching your brain which neural pathways to strengthen. If you repeat stress and destruction over and over, well, your brain gets world-class at being stressed. But if you practice calm and focus, you physically build new neural pathways for those exact states instead. Now, we're going to walk through exactly how to do this throughout your day. But real quick, I want you to keep an eye out for our final point. Stick around for the identity shift habit at the very end. It's the crucial anchor, like the absolute glue that makes all of this permanent. Without it, the rest of the toolkit just kind of falls apart. So definitely don't miss that one. Let's kick things off chronologically with Section 2, Transform Your Mornings, specifically the first 60 minutes. This first hour after you wake up is incredibly sensitive, because it completely sets the emotional baseline for your entire day. Let's master that hour. So here's a highly effective morning reset sequence for you. Step 1 is the 60-second transition pause. Look, when you wake up, do not grab your phone. Don't let the whole world's drama flood your brain before you're even out of bed. Just lie there for 60 seconds and take a breath. That tiny pause literally stops the immediate flood of the stress hormone cortisol and gives your serotonin a little boost. Step 2. Get 2 minutes of natural light to signal your internal clock that it's time to wake up. And Step 3. Hydrate before you pour that beautiful cup of coffee. Your brain wakes up totally dehydrated, so a glass of water first thing gently wakes up your system without that harsh caffeine crash later on. These are tiny, low-effort actions, but they fundamentally lower your overstimulation for the rest of the day. Now, what's really interesting is this massive number, 25%. Dr. Robert Emmons, one of the top researchers on gratitude, found that practicing a tiny gratitude habit every day increases your baseline happiness by 25%. And hey, we are not talking about some massive 20-minute journaling session here. We're talking about a 5-second mental gratitude snapshot. Just pausing for 5 seconds while you sip that coffee, noticing the morning light, and letting yourself actually feel good for a second. That simple snapshot starts retraining your brain's negativity bias to automatically scan for the good stuff instead of the bad. All right, moving right along into the middle of the day with Section 3, Midday Momentum Shifts, or Breaking the Negative Loop. Look, work and life stress are gonna creep in. That's a given. We need micro habits to intentionally interrupt those automatic negative spirals right as they're happening in real time. And listen to this incredible statistic. A massive study in the Lancet Psychiatry Journal looked at over 1.2 million people, and they found that folks who exercise even just a little bit
have 43% fewer poor mental health days compared to those who don't. 43%. This proves such a powerful concept. Motion changes emotion. When you just sit there, stress stays trapped in your nervous system, but the second you move, you're signaling safety to your brain. And the best part, you absolutely don't need a fancy gym membership or an exhausting hour-long workout. Consider these super low barrier wins. Take a quick walk around the block. Do a little stretching in your living room. Crank up one of your favorite songs and dance in the kitchen like nobody's watching. Drop and do 10 push-ups or squats. Just 10 minutes of movement gives your brain a psychological win and instantly snaps you out of that negative overthinking loop. Let's actually look at the chemistry behind why these tiny actions work so well. Every intentional microhabit triggers a really specific, immediate chemical reward in your brain. Giving someone a genuine compliment, boom, that releases oxytocin for both of you, creating instant bonding and joy. Making your bed in the morning, that tiny sense of accomplishment gives you a hit of dopamine, which builds a snowball of motivation. And taking just 10 slow, deep breaths, that activates your parasympathetic nervous system, which is basically hitting the calm reset button on your entire body. You're literally upgrading your mood hardware in real time.
But to keep that hardware running smoothly, you've got to schedule an intentional unplug. A lot of us are living our modern lives in this state of continuous partial attention. We're half working, half scrolling, half watching TV, half listening. It creates this exhausting background hum of anxiety. You have to disconnect from all your screens for just 15 minutes a day. Just 15 minutes completely offline gives your nervous system a desperately needed break from that constant, relentless stimulation. Your brain literally needs quiet moments to recover. As the day finally winds down, we hit section 4, the nightly brain dump, or clearing the open tabs. Because how many times have you laid down to go to sleep, only to have your mind suddenly turn into this racing circus of everything you said, everything you did, or everything you still need to do?
To fix that, we do the nightly brain dump. Research out of Baylor University shows that taking just 5 minutes to dump every worry, every task, and every random thought onto a piece of paper helps you fall asleep a full 9 minutes faster. Why does that work? Well, your brain treats unfinished tasks exactly like open browser tabs on your computer. They just run in the background, draining your battery and keeping you awake. Writing them down literally closes those tabs. It tells your brain, hey, it's okay, we've got this captured, you can finally let it go.
All right, here we are. Section 5, the ultimate identity shift, the habit that changes everything. This is that highly anticipated final habit I promised you earlier. And listen, this isn't just another task to check off your to-do list. This is the root admin access. This anchors every single habit we've talked about today.
James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, says it best. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you want to be. If you're only focusing on the outcome, like you just want to be happy, you're going to struggle. Real change happens when you fundamentally shift how you see yourself. If you secretly believe you're just an anxious, stressed-out person, you'll naturally make choices that back up that identity. But if you change the identity first, the habits just follow automatically. And that brings us to the single most powerful sentence you can say to yourself every single day. I am the kind of person who takes care of my happiness. When you truly adopt that identity, everything else becomes easy. The 2-minute morning pause, the 10-minute walk, the nightly brain dump, they don't feel like chores anymore. They just feel like the totally natural things that someone who takes care of their happiness would do. Remember, you aren't the final version of yourself. You're just the version your habits have built so far. So my question for you as we wrap up this explainer is this. What votes are you going to cast for your brain today? Pick just one tiny habit we talked about, start casting those votes, and watch how it transforms your whole life. Thanks so much for learning with me today.